Time for an upgrade. I've had my current desktop for 6 years. Once again, going with the tried and true Shuttle XPC. Tiny little cube. Proprietary ingenious cooling system. No heatsink required. It's kind of like a intercooler. Anyway, that's it. 6 core, 2 threads, so virtually 12 core. 8 gig memory. I'll be getting 8 more. My first ever solid state drive, which will only have my operating system and programs. I'll put everything else on standard hard drives and a dock. Windows 7 64-bit to accommodate 16 gig of memory, and Blu-ray drives have become extremely cheap. Now I'm just going to see how much clearance I have inside for a video card, which is going to be a tight squeeze, but I can get in there, and should have her up and running pretty soon. I'm excited. Okay, let's start building this thing. These little cubes are the best bang for your buck. Never had a problem out of one. I've built many of them, not just for myself but for other people. I love their cooling system. You've got a fan assembly. That sucks air in, kind of like the radiator or an intercooler on a turbocharged car. Cools these fins and blows the hot air, forces it down these pipes over the processor. You don't have to use the AMD heatsink and fan. This is all the heatsink. There's no fan on top. That's as thick as it is. It screws down to the board. So let's take the heatsink off, install the CPU, and then we'll grease it down with some thermal paste. Get the heatsink back on, and put the other components in, fire it up, and load the operating system on this thing. Okay, heatsink's out, CPU slots exposed. Once again, I love Shuttle's proprietary cooling system. So make sure I don't have any static. 6 core AMD. And thank you, AMD. I will proudly put that Phenom 2 sticker on the front of my machine. 6 cores, 2 threads per core, 2.7 gigahertz per core. Do the math. Let's get this in there, grease it up, get the memory sticks in, get the heatsink back in. That much will be done. And then we'll mount the solid state drive, the Blu-ray drive into the bay. Put her back together, and we'll get Windows 64-bit on it. Alrighty, you know, too many people forget this simple step, the most important step: your thermal paste. Without it, your heatsink is absolutely no good to you. And be generous with it, but don't overdo it. In fact, I'm not going to spread it all the way out, because when it mates up with the heatsink, in fact, I'm going to put a little more before I put the heatsink on. And also, always hold your CPU up to the light level and make sure that you can see no gaps to make sure you have that thing seated in there. It only takes a couple seconds for it to get too hot and burn up. So a little bit more paste, put the heatsink back in. Alrighty, CPU's installed, heatsink and fan are back, and I got 8 gig of memory installed. I'll get another 8 gig at a later time. Let's get the CD-ROM and the hard drive in the bay, and get the bay mounted and fire it up. Alrighty, looking good. I haven't peeled the plastic off yet. Make sure everything works. Got it hooked up to my big screen, HDMI, fully assembled. Go find me a test keyboard and a test mouse, and see if we can start loading Windows and monitor the heat for the first time, and then we can put it together. Be back when I'm ready to boot. Alrighty, she's running. Very, very quiet. Listen. CPU is ice cold. It's been on for 10 minutes. And we're installing Windows 7. Pretty quickly, I might add. So, let it do its thing. Install all the 64-bit drivers. Get me a RJ45 cable run out here, and I'll be back. Amazing change in performance. I'm running an onboard video ATI Radeon. I don't even have a display adapter in the PCI slot, and I'm starting to wonder if I even need one. With this AMD and this amount of memory. Testing out video performance with J Helio viewer, looking at the sun. Now on my other desktop that I thought was fast, I was getting about 2 or 3 frames a second. This is near, I'm probably getting 25 frames a second off of the European Space Agency's J Helio viewer. This is phenomenal. Let me show you how fluid it is. I can move this around, no problem. I had a huge delay on my other desktop. Even zooming in and out is instant. I thought I had a connection problem, but we'll see. I may not even need a video upgrade. I'm very impressed. Just gotta put the case back on her. She's done.